Welcome to Hey Sister. This is episode 37, Freedom to Comment. Hey sister.
Hey sister.
Join me, Courtney Lewis,
And me, Carley Ferguson,
in our conversational podcast about everyday situations.
You can count on us to tell it to you straight with our own sisterly spin.
Consider this a phone call with your own Southern sisters as we discuss with you personal accountability, healthy relationships, managing responsibilities, and contributing to society.
Each episode will consist of straight talk and a call to action.
Your sisters are calling.
Thanks for answering.
Hello and welcome to Hey Sister. This is Courtney and we are so glad that y'all are joining us this week. This is another special week where Carley and I are actually getting to record in person together. So yay, we're super excited. I have to say, so since we're getting to be together to record this, that means that my family made the drive from Arizona to Waco, Texas for the 4th of July weekend. So happy 4th of July, sisters. It's Independence Day and we're so excited that we get to celebrate our country. But on this drive, I got to tell my kids where the 4th of July came from and why we celebrate it. And it was actually really fun and exciting to get to explain some freedoms to our kids. And I felt really proud of myself because I had an opportunity to express what the First Amendment rights were. And as I started listing them off, my husband, I could see him looking at me out of the corner of his eye like, do you actually know these? I was a little insulted that he didn't think I would know them. But I knew them because I had a really great teacher in 8th grade. I remember her teaching us SPAPAR. So it was freedom of speech, press, assembly, petition, and religion. And so that spells SPAPAR. And so I always think of that for the First Amendment. It sounds so fancy. SPAPAR. So I rattled those off. So it was neat to tell my kids a little bit about those rights. But today we're going to talk a little bit about the freedom of speech specifically. And this is part of our Hot Topics series. As y'all know, for the last several weeks and throughout the months of June and July for 2022, Carley and I are going to be talking about topics that come up often in our conversations. So today, yes, it's Independence Day. So that's part of why we're talking about freedom of speech. But this is also genuinely a topic that we talk about a lot, which is the art of commenting on social media, specifically on Facebook, when you see somebody's posted something that you might disagree with.
Yeah, and you said the art of it, and I think it also has to do with the heart of it. As we talk about these things, they're all close to our heart. We know that the Roe versus Wade turning over is a hot topic, quite literally, that we're all seeing on Facebook, and so it's important for us to know how we would respond to those posts and be genuine. That's something that we, in our conversations, we feel like it's important to be genuine to yourself and how you represent yourself in those comments, but also being bold, being courageous enough to say something. So that's what we want to talk about today, and we feel like it comes down to 4 different types of comments. Do you want to take it from there?
Sure. Something that I've told Carley that I've seen in my experience is that when somebody posts something controversial, and I think we've all seen controversy in different ways, whether it's something religious, something school related with I it can be anything political, it can be even down to things like car seats. People get opinionated about everything. If you have an opinion about anything, it is controversial to someone, which is kind of a mind-blowing thought. Even people that would say, oh, I love pizza, somebody who is plant-based might have a problem with how you eat pizza. So,
or like, is it a locally owned pizza store?
Right.
Is it giving back, or is it paying their employees? Not that those things aren't valid and great, but it does seem like everything can become a very charged topic.
Right. Everything becomes a hot topic. So that's what we want to talk about today. And the way that I've experienced this, when I see a post that I disagree with, I feel like there are 4 different areas that I've personally gone through, and it seems that people I've talked to experience this same sensation, which is you want to just scroll on by. You see it, you disagree with it, but you're going to stay silent, right? So that would be the first group of people I would categorize people into. I know Carley doesn't really like categorizing people, but these are 4, I'm going to call these the 4 stages.
Tendencies.
Yeah, the 4 tendencies of commenting. First tendency would be to stay silent. We've all heard that old adage from Bambi. If you don't have nothing nice to say, don't
Anything nice to say. don't say anything at all.
If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. That's right. So we've all heard that, and I think that's in the back of all of our brains. However, I have heard from actually a few friends of mine that they are offended when somebody doesn't comment. They notice who doesn't comment. And I understand where they're coming from, because sometimes it is hard when you feel like you put your heart out there, but then when you see somebody doesn't comment, there's a couple thoughts that you might have as the person who posts it. Do they not follow me anymore? Are they not seeing my posts? Have they unfollowed me? Or maybe they are judging me and so they're not saying anything, or maybe they just don't care about me.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a few different reasons that you might assume somebody's not commenting, when in reality the person not commenting could be doing it for sure any of those reasons, or it might just be that they don't want to be controversial. They love you too much to say something.
Yeah, which a lot of times then becomes the care emoji.
Yeah, the care emoji, right?
And maybe not saying anything, but I still care about you, but I differ.
Exactly.
Opinion on this.
I think we all know that's what the care emoji really means.
And my heart goes out to you. It's like bless your heart, I feel like, as an emoji.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
But even bless your heart in Texas has a different connotation sometimes.
Sometimes.
So that would be your first tendency, is staying silent. Second tendency would be to offer love and support, and that's all you do. Oh, I love you, girl. So brave of you to say this. Way to go. Those kind of comments that are just affirming whatever they said and being an echo back to them.
Which I think to a lot of people, if you're listening and you're like, but that's what I want to say. Like, our point is that you should be genuine to how you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you say something like that, it might not be genuine to how you're feeling, but there comes a fear to offend, so much so that you don't want to say anything that is more indicative of how you actually feel on the topic. And I think we shouldn't shy away from being ourselves or having the beliefs that we do to just please someone else, because they're posting it with courage that they want to say what they feel and putting it out there. That's where we're getting to, is just being genuine in that response.
Right, and I'm not trying to criticize the people who are silent or who are expressing love. Mm-hmm. We're just trying to get to the fourth tendency, which we'll get to in a second, which we feel like is the sweet spot. The third tendency that I want to talk about is those who disagree, and they don't do it in a kind manner. And you've seen these people before, and it might not even be your friends talking back to you. It might be your friends commenting to another friend's comment on your post. So I've commented before on a friend's post. She was expressing some political beliefs, and I commented in a way that I felt was genuine and I felt it was still kind, and she replied back to me immediately and we had some good dialogue going back and forth. Well, then a friend of hers came on and started attacking my personal belief because this particular friend didn't know me, and so he felt very emboldened to be brazen and say some pretty crass things to me that he couldn't believe what I'd said, and just attacking how I did it. People are more bold online than they would ever be in person. And that's true among your friends. It's true among people who are complete strangers. I remember when school wasn't in session, I made a public post about school should be back in session back when it was fall of 2020, and we knew enough about COVID that I felt it was safe and that schools should be open. So my husband and I were leading the charge for getting schools open in our local area, and that was met with some very mixed emotions. And I understand that. I really do. But we felt it was time, and so we were using our freedom of speech and our freedom to petition for schools to be open. So to have somebody else comment on my post and say you need to be reported to CPS, that you would even consider putting your children back in school, CPS needs to come do an investigation on you. I remember thinking, who are you?
Low, too. The thing about this is when people take those opportunities because they don't know you, but they just drive it in where they know it'll hurt. That's when I say like the heart of it, it means knowing that other people have a heart and just making that assumption first that they're not posting something in order to be antagonistic to you personally in any way. And so when you respond back, you're saying something because you know that they're a genuine person themselves. They have a heart. They're coming from a different place, a different idea of what they consider to be right in that situation. But I think if we were to look at each other and say, you are coming from a different place on that, but you are trying to do the best thing, the right thing in your heart, instead of attacking them on who they are, which is what this man did, was trying to polarize and say that you were some extreme evil person, which isn't necessary.
Right.
And that was what was so hurtful that it would come to that.
Our mom and dad used to call it going to DEFCON 4. You're just going to go for the most intense blow you possibly can to really send your message home. Man, you can't even believe this person would think that way. They're not even a human being. I was belittled to being a child abuser in this man's point of view, when in my opinion I felt like I was doing the absolute opposite. I was doing the thing that was best for my kids, and that's how I felt. But he felt like I was trying to hurt my children, and it was just interesting. I remember I cried about that. Like, I was like, is this what mankind has come to? It was really hard for me, whereas I'm sure that people like him were blown away that people like me were fighting for children to be in school. You've got to try and find the humanity on all of this, and that's why we want to talk about the fourth tendency, which is to comment with love and disagreement. It's okay to still comment on somebody's post and disagree, but you can do it in a loving way. And I want to share something that I read this week. This is from an account that I follow called The Pour Over News, and we will share this link as always in our show notes, which contains our minute marker timeline and links to our social media, and we'll include the link to the Pour Over News social media account as well. And so what they posted this past week with the Roe v. Wade decision, they said, the Supreme Court has overturned Roe v. Wade. We are called to love everyone always. That means loving and caring for the unborn, single mothers, couples who have received abortions, and people who passionately disagree with you on this topic. When discussing this news, leave others with no doubt of your love for everyone always. Do everything in love. 1 Corinthians 16:14. When I read that, I was filled with a peaceful feeling, and I felt like that is really the important aspect, is that we do everything in love. And so we can comment and disagree with somebody and let them know that we disagree. And then that way you don't feel like you're not speaking that whole phrase right now that's so popular, speaking your truth, right? Like, you don't want to bite your tongue and stay silent on something because of fear of rejection, because that's actually going to be bad for you. For your health, you do feel that need to comment. Just like in a conversation, if somebody disagreed with you, you would make it known, whether it was by your facial expressions, your body language, leaving a conversation. So online, you don't have that facial expression or the opportunity to leave a conversation. So you feel like you're not getting to voice your opinion, whether it's even through voice or text or body language. So you do need to express yourself.
It's hard to be silenced. And there's a lot of people who feel silenced on social media because depending on your feed, you see so many posts that aren't relevant to you or don't seem like something that you believe in. Especially when you feel very passionate about that topic, you feel like, and I hear it a lot from friends of mine who say, what is the world coming to? But you start feeling like you're very alone. And social media is a weird, wild, wild west of sorts. But the best way to handle social media is to express yourself and not be a silent user. There is a podcast, and I'll have to look at it, The Happiness Project, I think is what it's called. We'll do a link in the show notes to it because I listened to an episode that was specifically on social media usage and how it can affect us. But in this case, the point that was made, spoiler alert, is that those that are active users are less affected actually by social media. So if you feel passionate about something, it is good to have a healthy dialogue and be able to voice that. And our point is not to get out there and go and just be, what did you call them, keyboard heroes?
Oh, right. That's the term that a teenager introduced me to years ago, and I remember thinking that is the coolest phrase I've ever heard. Keyboard heroes. And sometimes they're not keyboard heroes.
They think they are. They're blasting stuff. And we don't want that. We want a healthy conversation, which means that you start with love. Remind yourself of who this person is, that they're coming from a place that is different than you, and they have had different experiences, and you have had different experiences than they do. Don't let it affect your relationship necessarily, but don't be afraid to say, I don't agree with that. This is how I view it. And I've been really impressed by friends of mine who have voiced their opinions on things in a clear way and didn't make it extreme like all these people I thought I was friends with. There have been some really dramatic ways to go about this, and all in all, we need to work on who we are, and as you put from the pour over, loving everyone. And I think when you start making everyone else into a villain and posting memes or words that say, can you believe?
Supercharged.
Yeah, super. And it's a meme. It's so easy to share. So then you've got lots of these really polarizing things that make it sound like if anybody's on the other side of the fence, they are not your friend. And it's hard when you have family and friends who are close to you, and now you're in a position where if you were to say anything otherwise, then you're jeopardizing your friendship and your communications with them. And I wouldn't want to see it come to that. I do believe it is a very important issue with abortion, and we've made, I think, it pretty clear that we stand for pro-life. But we love those that believe in pro-choice, but we still believe in pro-life, and it gets really complicated on social media because you feel like either you don't say anything or you unfriend them, or these extremes that it doesn't have to come to.
It doesn't. And one thing that I love that you said is I want to find the happiness project. We'll definitely include this in the show notes because it is important, and I love that if you don't actively use social media and all you do is intake, and you're not actually expressing yourself, well, that's going to affect you. And I think sometimes we need to remember that too. Carley, have you ever seen on Facebook or on Instagram when somebody posts and they say, if you don't agree with this, then just scroll on by? I've had friends before who have said, if you don't agree with this, then just scroll on by. Don't leave your hate here, but I just have to get this off my chest. And I would challenge you, if you have ever done that before, and maybe I'm even guilty of that. I don't remember ever doing any posts like that where I wouldn't welcome comments. Maybe I have and I'm not remembering. So if I have, please don't consider me a hypocrite because I'm learning my lesson and never wanting to ever do this if I have. But I've seen it done before. And when I see that, those kind of things, even if I agree with that person, it hurts. Because I'm like, all you want everyone to do is give you an atta girl.
And that's called an echo chamber. They are actually asking for it on that. And so if you do comment, you do need to know what you're getting into. So if you're going into it and you're like, I am going to say something, even though they asked for no one to say anything because this is so sensitive to them, but they wanted to say it. I think with anything that we feel really passionate about, just like in a regular conversation, if it gets to the point that your words may not be in character with who you'd like to be, like the kind of interaction you would like to have with people, then you would need to take a break. That is a blessing to social media, that you can step away, maybe think on it during the day, and if you feel still so inclined, go back after you've had some time to process in a way that you would want to say. But always take into account if they are in a place, in a position with you that they would respect your different opinion. I'm just saying, if they say directly, do not comment with anything, be very wary.
I would agree.
Saying anything.
I would agree with, I guess my challenge there isn't to go comment on those people's. It's that if you're saying that, maybe reconsider even saying that, because you wouldn't want to be in a conversation where you're like, I don't want anybody to say anything back to this, but here, and then throw it out there. Do you really want that? That's like speaking at somebody instead of having a conversation. And that's the whole point of social media, is the social involvement. And that we need to be growing and talking to people who do disagree with us and challenge our beliefs. And it helps us to feel more confident in our beliefs and where we stand. And I actually want to share an experience I had. It's been years ago, but there was a time where I posted on social media a thought that I had, which was that I would feel like a successful mother one day when... And I listed a certain experience that had to do with my faith. And so I expressed that. And there was a lot of silence, so your first tendencies. A lot of people didn't say anything, which is fine. I don't remember who did or didn't say anything. But I do remember there was a lot of people who gave me a lot of love and a lot of support for my faith. And these were typically people that I went to church with. So they were commenting with a, that's right, yes, absolutely, those kind of comments. There was actually nobody who downright disagreed with me in a hateful way on that post. But there was a cousin of mine who commented in the fourth way. The disagreeing kindly in love. And I am so grateful for this particular cousin who married a cousin of mine. So she's my cousin-in-law. And I love her and I have so much respect for her. And when she commented, what she said was, Courtney, you are an awesome mother because you try to teach your kids values that you love. Don't make your value of motherhood based on their choices in their life. And I've chosen not to make faith or religion a part of my kid's life, but I don't consider that my standard of motherhood. And I'm summarizing what I took away from that comment, so I apologize if I butchered that. I can't find that comment quickly, but that's what I took away from her comment, was that she loved me. She was giving me a pat on the back for my attempts at motherhood, but she was also letting me know that that's not at all how she judges her own motherhood or how she considers mothers to be good or bad mothers in her opinion. And I really appreciated that because she disagreed with me and did it in such a kind way that made me feel even more love from her. I felt like she loved me enough to comment that she disagreed with me. And so I do think that we can do this in a kind way, even about topics as sensitive as faith. And they always say, don't talk about politics or religion. And that's like all we see on social media, right? And so I think that we can do this. I think that we can comment with love and still disagree with others. I feel like this is really pertinent for us to talk about this week with Roe v. Wade, but it's actually pertinent every week of the year. There's always something that people disagree with. Gun laws.
Yeah, it's that news cycle keeps bringing things up, and it goes through our social media, which Facebook is a compilation of things that are going on right now. And if you were to think about it that way, if these things were compiled and put into a large book of everyone's comments, and you could see how it weighed in different areas, wouldn't you want to put your values, your beliefs out there? Wouldn't you want that to be represented, even if just to give an accurate depiction of what's going on in society? I think that's why it's important for us to say something, and we can have really good conversations and actually better friendships with people because we're able to clearly articulate how we feel about a topic and not let it bleed into who we think they are, who they think we are. I've had a good experience. A couple people that I don't know super well, they're not like family or something, but I've followed them on Facebook and we have different views. One particular post was related to parenting and her view on being a mother, and had a different view on religion just in general at that point, and how basically what you were saying, Courtney, how that kind of affected her relationships with her kids. And it was something that weighed on me, and so I let it sit for about a day, and I talked about it with my husband, and I was like, I don't know, I don't want to say anything to her post. I don't want to, but it was just hard to see all these people saying things that were just all negative, and I know a lot of people are reading this, and there are probably people who are somewhat on the fence about it. And
when you're saying they're commenting and it's all negative, they're negative as opposed...
Sorry, they, in a post in my view, affirming her experience and adding to it with their own experiences, which that is their experiences, right? But in my mind, I just felt like it lacked something that I felt very strongly about, that religion can offer so many good things to our society. So after thinking about it and praying about it, I went back and I wrote out something basic. It was just more stating, I feel that religion is important and it adds so much to our society in these ways. I appreciate how much you love your children, that you would take this cause that she had mentioned, that you would take that. That is really important. Because I know that her heart, how she feels, is in her right place. But I feel that it is important to share that I don't feel that same way. And I was really scared. Like when you post anything, even though I tried to be very particular about how I said it, I was really scared that there was going to be a lot of hate. That's the part you hit the comment button and you pull your hands away and you're like, okay, let me get to doing something so that I don't want to look at my phone for a while. And the next time you go into Facebook, you see notifications and you think, great, my name just got pulled through the mud. And I looked and she had a very sweet response, and I really appreciated that she had that kind of response. And it made me respect her more. And I'd hope that my saying that and feeling courageous enough in that moment to say it made her respect me a little bit more. And when we see each other, if we were to see each other at the grocery store, we'd have a good interaction knowing that we didn't agree on something. So I think that's our point, is to encourage us all to feel like we have a voice and to say that, because the freedom of speech is such a blessing in our lives.
It really is. And I love that you said that you took a day to think about what you were going to say. It mattered so much to you that you didn't just really quickly become that keyboard hero that we were referencing and just type something out because you felt so passionately about it. You weren't going to let it go another second without you commenting. That is one of the beautiful things about social media. We can actually take time to thoughtfully type something and take some time before we even do it. Unlike in a conversation where you would be caught on your feet and be like, oh my goodness, how do I respond to this right this second to make sure that I'm standing for what I believe to be true? You can still stand for what you believe to be true, but word it in a kind way on social media. I'm loving this visual that you gave us of, if there's a book of life, that our comments and all of our interactions are published in a book, wouldn't you want your opinions represented and not silenced, or not just met with, oh, I love you, girl, or oh, I completely disagree, how could you even be a human? Like, how dare you?
Yeah.
You know? So I love that, because you're taking time to have what you want to be said and represent your thoughts in a caring and yet disagreeing way. And that is an okay thing, to take some time to think about it. And we would like to issue that as our call to action this week. When you see a post that you disagree with on social media this week, which I can guarantee there will be at least one. And if you're not seeing anything you disagree with, you might need to go refollow some of your friends that you might have unfollowed temporarily. You might have muted. You know how you can mute friends for either 30 days or mute permanently. You might want to go unmute some friends and try and up your feed a little bit so not everything you see is an echo chamber. When you see something that you disagree with, our invitation and our call to action to you is to comment with love and yet still be genuine and authentic to the beliefs that you have. And that's up to you. Pray for inspiration if you need it. Take some time to think about it. Type it out in a note or something on your phone before you actually paste it into Facebook.
Talk about it with your spouse, friend, parents, those that you want to talk about it with.
Bounce it around off some other people, get some feedback. And I think that's actually been really helpful for me. When I feel like there's something I disagree with, I will talk to my husband about it. Or when somebody comments back at me with some hate, I will talk to my husband, and that's been helpful too. So we urge you to do that, sisters, as our call to action this week. And thank you for joining us for our Hot Topic series. We've really enjoyed getting to talk about things that we care a lot about this summer, and we've got some other fun things coming at y'all the rest of this summer. We hope you have a wonderful Independence Day and a wonderful week this week. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at the Hey Sister Podcast and on Facebook at facebook.com/Hey Sister Podcast. Speaking of social media, we would love to hear from our sisters and connect with y'all. Have a great week, and we'll talk to y'all next week. Bye-bye. Bye.
God bless America.
Yes, that's right. On Independence Day.